We got John Baker, CEO and President of Desire to Learn, and Jevon MacDonald. We're going to be discussing about how building big companies in your backyard. So we're going to have these guys up the stage. Welcome to the stage, Jevon and
Sorry,
John
dude.
Baker.
Sorry,
Thank you.
dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Hey, cool. Okay. We're in the home stretch here on the day. Hope you all enjoyed your popcorn. It's like, I feel like I'm in a movie.
This is very unreal.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think I've ever been to a spot where they're serving popcorn while we talk.
Yeah, 3D movie you're watching here. Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So we've got John Baker in town, and I mean, I have to ask you, John, what is your preferred method of transportation in Halifax?
Fire truck. Definitely the fire truck today.
So today, John got a tour of the city in a fire truck, so he's ahead of you and I on experiences, better than the Harbor Hippo.
By the way, how many have done a tour of a city in a fire truck? And by tour, it was an educational, professional development event. I was coached to say that. It's the way to see the city.
It's the way to see the city.
Yeah.
You get through all the red lights. So John's the founder, CEO and current guy behind Desire to Learn, which is a Waterloo, Ontario-based e-learning company. And just to kick it off again, we did this earlier with Harley and Shopify. I'd love for you to just give everyone a sense about this company, where it is today, and what you're focused on.
So when I started the company, you saw so many different technology companies up here on stage today, right? You're seeing complete transformations of traditional industries into really being driven by technology. And at the time, as I was walking across campus, this was 15 years ago, if you can believe it, technology was completely absent from the experience. And so it was really an opportunity to go in and build a platform, build technology to really support a true transformation of the teaching and learning experience. And so today we're, just did the numbers here this week, 801 employees globally. So offices in like Singapore, Melbourne, Australia. We haven't done Halifax yet. Waterloo, Toronto, Boston, Sao Paulo, Amsterdam, UK.
Well, I'm constantly reminded we have 11 universities in this province, so I'm sure.
I know, we're working on them. Working on them. We work with schools, universities, companies now to really have an impact on the educational experience, on the learning experience. And it's amazing how far we've come, but I feel like we're really just getting started.
So 800 employees, 15 years, but give me a sense, what was the biggest, I guess, for you as a founder, what was the craziest phase? Like, when did you say, holy shit, this is not what I expected? And I assume that's happened already.
There's been a few times. How many have built their company to over 100 employees? Or get to 60 employees? Okay. So we got some work to do.
You are the big company in the
I know, this is really strange. This is really strange. So when you're building your company, there's all kinds of interesting stuff that happens. You first of all, you start with hiring your brother, your other brother, your sister, and then you.
And you literally did that, right?
I did that.
Yeah.
And then you build a great business, and you're winning deal after deal after deal, and you're just growing, you're scaling. And probably the one that was probably the was when your competitor comes and tries to buy you or tries to hey, boy, it'd be great if we combined our little entities, and you say no. And then eventually you wind up in Texas in a litigation for 3.5 years.
So you wouldn't sell, which is a theme we're hearing a bit, and so they tried to destroy you. It sounds.
I don't think they ever said it that way.
I'm sure they did in their.
But that's probably that's where you really, I think, get tested as an organization. Is it's not on the easy days where you're just winning deal after deal.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. How many celebrate when they win a deal? Okay, you got a few. Do you really celebrate the day the contract gets signed? Or do you celebrate the 2 or 3 weeks prior? How many celebrate the 2 or 3 weeks prior when you finish the demo and you feel good about yourself? Okay,
what about all?
You celebrate them all? for us, like when we win the deal, you actually feel like, oh my God, now we actually have to deliver on what we promised. Those were the early days, at least.
It's called overselling.
So it's overselling. But you run into all these different challenges, and I think that's where you really get tested. That's where you really show your values. That's where you really demonstrate why you're doing what you're doing and your commitment to the vision. And but I can tell you what's great is after going through all of that, winning at the end of the day was much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about the opposite? Is there ever a time you just kind of wanted to crawl in bed and hide away from everybody? Is there like...
Why did we start here, Jevon? Why did we start with all the pleasant stuff?
There. Yeah, no, it's cool.
I think there's been very few times in the building of this company where I've ever felt I wanted to just give it up or to like call it quits or feel like completely devastated over what was happening. What was crazy was at the lowest moment. I don't know why we're going here, but at the lowest moment when a jury comes back and says, yeah, you're guilty, you infringed this thing, and you've got to pay this X number of millions of dollars, and blah 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 blah, and you just sit there and you take it.
And you were literally in the room there with...
Yeah, and by the way, this is at a time when the Canadians just closed a plant in town, and there's like all this other stuff going on. It was just nuts. But you sit there and you take it, and then you're like that's probably like your low point in your business career where you go, oh my God, what do I do next? And it was also probably one of the highest points in building the company, because like on the flight back from Texas to Toronto, like I saw like 4 of our other leaders within the organization, like here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to reposition, here's how we're going to tackle this, here's how we're going to tackle that, and I had no part in the conversation other than just listening in. And it was like these little moments in time where you go, holy crap! Like we've actually built. Like I keep talking about building a great team of leaders, but we actually have a great team of leaders, that's incredibly important to sort of like zero in on as you're building a company.
So, 15 years, 800 employees, but you've got this. This is pretty cool. I mean, you've got this. You've gone to the lowest point with this team,
yeah,
and you're sitting there. And you're seeing them kind of spring into action. What do you think it was that, as an entrepreneur, how far into Desire to Learn's life was that moment? And then what do you think you had done to that point to kind of get a team that was able to kind of jump into action like that?
Yeah. So we were at the time 65 people if you counted every student that we hired. So I don't know about you, but I really count students. They work really hard, we were just about to. It was a Thursday. We were about to do a users conference on a Sunday. We were just about to sign deals. We said hold off. We'll tell you some stuff on Monday that might make you change your mind.
Either
Luckily,
way.
but we were like 65 people all in, and we had been building the company for 8 years. So how many have been building a company for 8 years? Okay, like
one company.
So in my case, we bootstrapped our company for 12 years. Like never took any outside funding for 12 years, and it was because we knew that changing things like education would take a long time. And so the last thing we wanted to do was just miss the opportunity to really transform an industry. So we took our time, built it up to 65 people. We got sued, and then.
So you got sued, and this is your baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And at that time, we're like just cruising. Like life couldn't be any better. We're like 10 times better than the competition. We're winning deal. We're winning whole states. We're winning deal after deal after deal, and then just like whack. And it's amazing at those moments where you go, you always talk about building the right team, building the right leadership. We never lost a single leader within the organization, even though we went through this for 3.5 years. We never lost a customer through this whole ordeal. And we took the company from 65 employees to 140 while we're still fighting this monster.
Wow.
And it feels like, by the way, just in case you're wondering what it feels like you're getting hit with a bat like every day for like 3.5 years. That's literally, if you can imagine that, not like a hard hit, like more like a soft one. It's just annoying, really annoying. Like a wiffle ball bat. Yeah, like a wiffle ball bat. And so like, but I tell you, when it stops, it's like, yes, life feels really good right now. And for us, it didn't stop until 2010. So if you can imagine, like, we were a startup, we're going through some crazy, we just started to ramp, we got sidetracked for about 3.5 years, and then we actually started to ramp again in a more meaningful way at the beginning of 2010.
So, and then you went from 140 employees to 800 in the span of what, 6 years?
Just under 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
What about the business, like, drove that growth? I mean, obviously you're closing deals, but what about?
So for us, like there's some people up on stage that you've had talk about like product or marketing. Like we focus on all of it. I don't know about you, but I like obsess over all of it. And in our case, from a product vision perspective, like we never really ever believed that the track that the competitors were on was the right track. We always fundamentally said, okay, well, how do we, if we were to build the future of learning, what should the future of learning look like? And we came up with ideas like, how about no more exams? That would be awesome. You're gonna laugh, but that actually just made it into a blueprint for learning for 2030, put together by a bunch of academics, which I thought was good. There's a whole backstory to that, but that I'll not go down a tangent. But you put together these pictures, and like the big one for me was learning shouldn't be one size fits all. Like this lecture style is not the coolest way to learn. The ability for you to think about not just like how you've done, so that's like your grade book and all of that other stuff, and we should use predictive modeling and adaptive learning and all kinds of other stuff to make learning much more about you and give you a forecast for how it's going to go in the future.
So this was like you had a vision that went beyond just the product and
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. We thought about game-based learning like a long time ago, and now it's like just going out in the product today.
Yeah.
So it's it takes a long time sometimes.
And I've
to build
seen
a
that
vision.
demo. It's pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So you built this company without outside capital.
Yeah.
I'm sure your brother and friends weren't getting paid all that much in some of those early years, but and then it kind of takes off, and you're doing it in Waterloo.
Yeah.
And so Waterloo's it's down the street from Toronto, but it wasn't on the map 15 years ago for startups, and
Yeah.
I think today it is, but I've been curious, and I've heard it from Ian Klugman, and we heard from Mike Litt earlier, but I think you more than anyone has kind of been there in the trenches through the whole kind of evolution, and I'm curious what made Waterloo a great place for you to build your company, and how did you stay there this whole time?
Yeah. So I think Halifax has the elements of this today as well. I think these types of events, these types of activities where you get founders talking to founders, you get peer-to-peer groups forming, you've got great advisors, you get people with cell phones, you get all the tools that you need to help foster like a great community of entrepreneurship. And Waterloo has a great reputation for that today. Like when I started 15 years ago, like I decided to take a semester off school, like a co-op off school, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, we don't understand how this works. How are you going to evaluate yourself? And they didn't know how to handle it. But what was cool about Waterloo, and I'm seeing it with like I met with your premier last night, and I met with a few other groups here. Like I'm seeing like the elements of it here, pulling it together. They didn't say, well, you can't do it. They said, okay, well, we don't know how to do it. But we'll work through the issues with you. We'll change our process. We'll figure out how you're going to do your own evaluation. We're going, we'll sort through it. And I think that combined with like this like great like open collaborative community where you're just coming together and solving each other's problems, and not being afraid to share some of the horror stories or some of the challenges you have, and being open to understanding different perspectives or different views. And like April did a great talk here on marketing, like pulling in those great ideas. And I think what also is needed here is like not to give you too much of a plug, but it's like you need to have like a great incubator. You need to have like an organization that helps pull it together and acts as the catalyst, act as like a lightning rod to attract in the venture capital, to attract in the funders, to attract in the big businesses that can like learn from the startups, that can act as a way to really foster that ecosystem. And I think you as entrepreneurs need to do that versus waiting for government to do it or waiting for others to sort of tackle it. I think they can be supporters, they can be good at it, but they're not going to be anywhere close to a bunch of entrepreneurs coming together and solving the problems. Personal opinion. And I think that's, but like Waterloo, like 15 years ago to Waterloo today is like completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been that constant, like relentless focus on, just like you do with agile development, just better next time, better the next time, better the next time, better the next time. And I think, if you can gel this community together, I think you're going to have something amazing here.
And have you seen your role in the community change over, like, it's got to be different for you today. You walk in the room in Waterloo versus 15 years ago when you're probably the guy looking for the help. You know what I mean?
I'm still looking for the help. I don't know. Does that ever end?
You're trying to hire.
Does that ever end? Yeah, we're trying to hire like 100 people right now.
Open office in Halifax.
Yeah, I still think of ourselves as a small company. So that's a bit weird when you walk into the room and people say you're the large guy now in town. John, you're no longer young. That one hurts. It's surprising at the same time, but I think as you grow in your community, I think the key is pay it back. Go back and help the next generation of entrepreneurs, support them in their evolution, give them the little bit of advice that's needed. Build great peer-to-peers. That's how I think about giving back. Also, I'm also the chair of Communitech now, and I sit on the governing council for Shirk, and anyone that likes the ballet, I'm on the board of the ballet. I don't dance.
No
to the ballet, but what's amazing is how many are in the arts here or have an arts background. The arts is going through probably as big of a revolution in technology as like any other industry. It's just not being seen today. There's a complete transformation. We had dancers from Denmark on stage in Toronto, even though they're in Denmark. They're just holographically projected onto the stage. It was like the coolest thing you've ever seen. And so, there's all these industries have an opportunity to really leverage technology in new ways and spark that entrepreneurship.
So, and now you talk about giving back. I know you're doing some stuff is it your hometown?
Yeah, so I got 2 slides. Am I allowed to use 2 slides? I know it's late in the day.
Can do 2 slides.
We can do 2. I think if you don't mind bringing that up. So the one challenge is I go, Waterloo's awesome, but what about smaller communities? How many come from a small town? Okay, that's crazy. How many don't come from a small town? Is probably the better question in here. Wow, that's impressive. So I thought about this challenge of what about smaller communities? And so my parents live in a town called Bayfield, Ontario. It's right on the lake. It's probably one of the most beautiful spots you can imagine. Sunsets over the lake. It's beautiful. There's sailboats everywhere. But there's no technology there. And so I took an old hotel. So this is like an old hotel. By the way, buying an old hotel in a small town does not cost a lot of money. You can't buy a house probably in Halifax for the price I probably paid for the hotel. We jacked it up on steel beams. And by the way, when you jack up old hotels on steel beams, make sure they use stronger steel. Because the steel beam's actually bent like this. And then the inspector comes by and says, well, you can't actually lower it now because you got to replace the beams, and little challenges like that. But we turned this old hotel, if you can just advance one, into this, looks like it's from the East Coast because I grew up in the East Coast. Turn it into this wonderful tech space. And it started off with 5 employees. Now they're up to 60 employees and growing quickly. And we bought the building next door. There's no reason, as long as you have a great entrepreneur, a good vision, and a little bit of connectivity, why tech companies can't be set up anywhere in the world. But they've got to be plugged in to a strong network. And whether that's here in Halifax or wherever it might be, so that you still get that mentorship, you still get that push, you still get that drive. But there's no reason why, you literally, in this case, they're now, this company that I'm supporting here is now the largest employer in town by a mile.
So it's one company is actually grown to take off?
It's awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Just one little company.
And so you built this company, Waterloo, 15 years, but did you ever think about? I mean, did you ever think Waterloo might not be the place to really grow a giant company? Like,
I think I thought about that.
I've gone from calling you big to giant.
Yeah,
now,
giant
so
now.
just in
Eh?
case-
I thought about like day one, like because like you take the entrepreneurship class and they say location. So I didn't know anything other than Waterloo was the big city for me.
Okay.
I went from small fishing village to small farming hamlet, which by the way it has a stop sign, to like Waterloo, and Toronto just seemed overwhelming. I just couldn't feel connected, and Waterloo just seemed like a great spot. Knew the universities really well, knew the area, knew that there was this incredible tech talent, and thought there's no better spot to set up and build an organization. And then discovered things like Communitech and discovered these other organizations that are just there as like great support mechanisms in the community. And I couldn't be happier where we are. But we're trying to also act like a global company. So we're, I can imagine a day that we're set up in Halifax at some point or another. We're set up in regions all over the world, because education, in our case, whether it's working with a company or school or government, is very local. And so the ability for us to build a globally networked organization is probably the next big challenge for us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll get ready to go to questions if anyone. There's a question over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I'll just repeat the question.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah, thanks.
said, what was your name? Sorry. Oleg said, it sounds like Waterloo 15 years ago is a lot like Halifax today. And as someone who's new, can you really build a big company here in Halifax?
Yeah, I don't know. So I've been scouting that out on every trip that I come here. So what do I see? I see like a premier that actually believes in innovation and entrepreneurship. So that's awesome. I see the city here is more than willing to support entrepreneurship and innovation. So that's amazing. I see some really amazing universities, like world-class universities, and a great college in town. I've never seen a room this full of entrepreneurs. This is very rare in many communities that I travel to around the world. That's awesome. So now the question really is up to you. Like, can you guys pull yourself together to really tackle the challenges that lie ahead and really building this as a tech cluster? Or whatever it is, ocean tech, I don't know. Yes? I'll throw that one out there. But like Waterloo, 50 years ago, was like a manufacturing town. I mean, that was the entrepreneurship of the day. And 100 years ago, where the building that we're in was the biggest leather tannery in the world. Well, the English Empire, I should say. I correct myself there. So the communities constantly reinvent themselves, and what forms as a cluster is really the combination of all the vectors that you guys have. So, is there enough critical mass to really build a cluster in a particular segment right here? And I'm optimistic. I really have liked the people that I've met. Is there a show of hands? How many think can be done? Am I allowed?
Woo,
Yes.
There you go. That's your answer.
Well, there's my answer. Done. I could have just started with that.
Absolutely. Any other question?
Keep on.
on
Don't worry,
coming
I'm
back.
keeping on coming back. Yeah. You guys have no questions.
Gotta have
Go ahead.
something.
How do you attract, quality developers to these rural communities? What do these guys do? Do they have 60 employees that were, good coders?
They've actually attracted people from Toronto, from London, from Waterloo. They've actually pulled one of our team members from us, which I was not happy about. Like who wouldn't want to live on the lake in a community where you can buy a house for like $200,000 and have like a wonderful lifestyle and bike to work, and actually make a good salary at the same time. Like you gotta. I think someone said it earlier, which is and I can't remember who it was. It was just a casual conversation, but what is the DNA for the community? Like, what's special about this community? What can you use as the edge to sort of capture the people's attention? But in this case, I don't think this would have been successful if that entrepreneur wasn't well connected to like an organization like this, where they're getting the support and they've got the funding and they get the ability to build the credibility to say, this isn't just a pipe dream, that we're going to make this real. But the interesting thing is, this is where I actually started my company. And I moved because I didn't think it was possible to build one at that time when you're just two people in a small little town. And so I moved it. And so I thought I would try it again. Yeah. In the back there, and I think you had a question there too as well. But
Education is like a really global vision. How did you focus that down in the beginning?
education is a global vision. How did I focus it down? I didn't. I'm going to transform the way the world learns. I said that when we were two people in the company, and I was like, I thought we could do it in 2 or 3 years. I love a big vision. Why would you want to boil it down? It's just going to take time to execute on some of these big grand plans that you have. But I see the proof points now. Like I see this large class at Deakin University, which used to have like 60% graduation rates, now has like 90%. And they've taken the class from 1,200 students to 1,700 students because the students love the learning experience. And it's 1,700 students, but yet they feel like it's like a personalized course written for just them. And that's pretty cool. Or this university that we work with in the UK, which was down here for rankings, now is number 2 in the UK for student satisfaction. I'm like, that's pretty amazing. So when you start measuring your progress, we have here's the mission: transform the way the world learns. Here's how we're going to do it. It's going to make it more pervasive in nature. We're going to have learning everywhere. We're going to make sure it's perceptive, so it's adaptive. It's really cool. And then we're going to make it personalized. And then we're going to actually measure our progress. Are we actually having an impact by are we improving student grades? Are people getting smarter or dumber using our technology? Are we going to help drive better engagement metrics? We call those mission metrics. And then we say, okay, here's how we're going to support building all kinds of programs around that. And I'll tell you, when you give a bunch of developers or team members your tool made students 2% smarter today. That's awesome. And we have one team that improved test scores by 24% just by rolling out an adaptive engine. So just if you struggled with something, it would just automatically give you some more content. That's motivational, and it becomes this great feedback mechanism to help build.
So you don't even feel, I can hear it in your voice, you don't even feel like you've started on this
We're
thing,
scratching the surface. Scratching the
That's
surface. There's many industries out there that have not been touched by this yet. I don't know if you know that, but I mean, people go, oh, John, there's everyone's doing everything that's ever been thought of. When we started 15 years ago, we had 220 competitors. I didn't know that. Most of those 220 competitors are gone. There's a new 220 competitors. I mean, that tells you there's a market. But it's how you attack the problem is what's going to keep you motivated.
220 competitors.
I didn't even know. I had no idea. Yeah.
So going back to the community, how do you think the community has changed because you're there? Have you seen a progression within that community, the way that they are, the way that they operate?
Like this one? Or Waterloo? I think Waterloo is since we landed, it's just been awesome, right? I'm kidding. There's a few other companies in town like BlackBerry and OpenText and a few 800 Googles, set up shop there. But this one, I was nervous about it. You don't know what the impact is going to be. At first, the community was like, "What are you doing to our hotel?" And I'm like, "Well, there's 3 other hotels in town. You can use one of the other ones." This one wasn't even busy anyway. So, the initial impact was a little bit of concern. But today it's you got 60 people that go out and eat lunch and have dinner, and they buy ice cream on Fridays, and it just re-energizes the community. And it's a lot of young people. In their case, most of their staff are under 40, and they would have never been in that community. And so you got families now. I think there's 4 or 5 of them out on mat leave. So there's babies now in the community that would never have been there. I met the Entrepreneur of the Year a couple of years ago for E&Y, And I said, okay, so how did you become the global entrepreneur of the year? And he's like, well, there's this yogurt company in town that shut down. And I said, I could probably do yogurt. And so he said, I'll just do it a little differently. I'll just use natural ingredients versus the artificial ones. And I built $1 billion sales revenue company just by just taking a flyer and just doing something. And so you go, okay, well that's a small town. I mean, so there's no reason why if you're passionate about it, if you're committed to building something great, that you can't build a dream wherever you might be. If you're connected to Volta, I'll just put that plug out there. Go ahead.
So with this project you have here, but also in the education space, you must deal a lot with the not in my backyard mentality.
Oh yeah.
Maybe. How do you deal with that? How do you get around those kind of people that are set in the ways and open them up to a new possibility, like an economic development team up here in Halifax or Cape Breton or anything like that has been in their ways for 60 plus years? How do you open them to the light of seeing something new? Or at least how do you bring that out?
I'm not sure what you're referring to in that regard, but
I'm actually referring to a community in Milton, right out of Waterloo, that's stuck in its ways in terms of trying to open up innovation, but are doing it in ways.
Oh. I don't think you wait for a government to figure it out. No offense to the government. I mean, that's great when they're supportive, and you got those elements here. I think it's up to the entrepreneurs in town to get together and say, how do we build a better community? That's what I believe, and because that's who's going to be the support network. That's where you're going to learn your challenges. That way, when Michael Litt says I'm just rocking it out, here's how I'm growing, and they go, oh, I could use a couple of those ideas. That part's exciting, waiting for government to drive innovations, you're going to be waiting a long. No offense to government, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Scanning the room quickly.
Yeah, you're going to be waiting a very, very long time. But having government as a partner in that is awesome. But they're not going to partner with somebody that's not doing something. I think you got to do something. This is what I like about what Jevon's doing here is he's building it, pulling together people, trying to get a group together to actually focus on these challenges. And then that becomes a way for government or for other groups to partner. And that's what I think what you should be trying to accomplish in Milton. Maybe there's this magical wand that you use. I don't know. Has anyone invented that yet in the room?
Good startup idea.
There might be a startup idea there too. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
If you were doing the same project today, the same startup, would you spend 12 years in build mode?
If it was exact same circumstances, I would have done a few things differently, like hired sales and marketing a long time ago. Versus the product just sells itself. It's so Canadian. I would have done those things differently, but I would not have done my funding route differently. Because it took us 12 years to convince the market to think about online learning. There was people that were doing it, but they were really early adopters. But it's now become this tipping point where it's going it's no longer nice to have for a university. You have to be doing this. 100% of growth in education is going to be online. 80% of people doing online or distance education are from on campus. This is where the market's going. I mean, for us, we waited until 2012, which is actually technically almost 13 years after starting the company, before we did a Series A, which was 80 million, and then we did a Series B.
So your seed round.
So that was my seed round.
Yeah, your 80 million seed round.
Yeah, small minority on our terms.
But you're kind of saying you could have gone out of the gates too quickly. You could have.
No. I wanted. If I was rewind the clock, I would have gone faster.
You would have raised money earlier.
No, I wouldn't have raised money earlier.
Okay.
I would have invested differently.
But that's what I was kind of hearing from you is it would have been a mistake to just raise money.
Unless it was you had some great angels in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But going out when you take outside capital, sometimes they'll say you've got if they're a generous VC, they'll say NEA, we'll give you 14 years runway here. You got 14 years to make this happen, do an IPO, do whatever. In their case, they say do an IPO. Other venture groups will be you've got 3 years to make this really happen. So you've got that spectrum of like people that are willing to invest, and they have a time horizon because they've got to return money to their funds. And so in our case, we looked at it and we went, if we're going to win this market long term, if we're going to be the partner for this space for the long term, we can't sell too early. We can't be roadkill along the way. And so we decided to control our destiny by just picking where we invested and making sure we're being very cautious with the funding. But you're right. If I had like an angel come along, I would have totally taken that early. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely a cool theme though.
But you got to remember, like back then, like education, you're doing what? Like if you ever get funding, I'll buy you lunch. Like it was like, how many have gotten that comment? Anyone get that comment? Like if you ever get funding, like I'll buy you lunch or dinner or whatever. Like no one's gonna admit that right now. Like it is the most motivating statement ever. You just want to go out there and crush it after that. But in our space, venture money didn't come into it until 2 or 3 years ago. So it's it's different. Go ahead.
When you decided to finally hire some sales and marketing, did you hire a team or did you hire a key person, a strategic hire to lead that, or did you kind of take that on by yourself?
So I've built like probably 4 or 5 sales and marketing teams over the years. Marketing I've been doing a lot better at. Sales not so good. It really comes down to the right people, in my opinion, and people that are really engaged, that want to roll up their sleeves, do the work, get down into it, and that are really driven to be very successful at what they're doing. It's funny, like you meet great people that will give you a good talk, and then when you actually look at like any type of engagement metric, it's just not there. So being faster with targeting the right people and hiring the right team is important. And today, we're just building at the sort of the next phase of our sales and marketing strategy, and it's exciting. Like it's like, oh, this is going to be really cool. And we've got salespeople that have been with us for like 10 years, and they're still just killing it every single year. And we've got people that have been here for 6 months, and they're just killing it. So it's, but it really just comes down to you got to find the right people. And don't wait. Like if a salesperson isn't producing after 3 years, you've probably waited too long. I'm saying that jokingly.
Bite the bullet.
I don't know why I'm like being so honest about that. But how many feel like they've built the best sales team in the world? Like if there's one thing that I can encourage Canada to do is invest in like sales education, sales development, sales leadership development, all of that stuff. Like and I don't get it. I don't get why universities aren't doing this. I don't get why there's not like startups doing this or something going on to support this, because like you go to the US for talent now, you go to like people that have been there and done it, and it's very rare that you're finding like this killer talent in Canada, and that's a shame. Like there's no reason why we can't have that as a very valued profession that you invest in and you grow and you foster.
There's a guy named Jerry Pond who's a leader in the community around here, and he's been saying that exact same thing for about 5 years, trying to move the needle on. Time for one more question. Got one over here. Yeah.
What's something that we can do to better support those entrepreneurs that are in these smaller communities to get plugged into other things that could help grow the company?
Yeah, I mean that's the tough challenge, right? One of the great things about like Toronto or Waterloo or these other like clusters is that you can get a bunch of entrepreneurs together, and they can hash out their problems and, oh yeah, this is what I did, this is what I didn't do. When you're in Bayfield and there's only one tech entrepreneur in town, it's tough to do that. And so personally, like I would start with like, let's do it in Halifax, let's get that right, and then start tackling some of these other challenges, because they're like, I'm a big hub and spoke kind of person, right? So the more that wherever you might be, let's say you're in Cape Breton, the more that we can plug you into like an entrepreneurial like epicenter, and learn from the founders, learn from others, like build a virtual network. I'm okay with online technology, like online learning is okay too. Do that. But if you don't have that entrepreneur connected, they're not going to grow as fast as they could. They're not going to be able to solve some of the tough challenges they run into. They're not going to be encouraged to try different things. And there's no reason why what's being done in person here today can't be enabled through virtual technology as well. There's like no question in my mind that that can be done. But you also, you need to pick where you invest. And I would start with like whether it's like this is the entrepreneurship center for like this area of the country, or maybe it's Truro. I don't know. Truro is going to arm wrestle with you guys to like figure out where it's going to be. Like, but pick one, invest in it, make sure you're building the right networks, building the right infrastructure, and then connect the communities. I think doing it as a bunch of islands on your own is going to be very tough.
Cool. Thank you, John, very much.
Good luck, Halifax. Good luck,
We
Nova
hope you'll
Scotia.
come back next year.
Yeah.